While I don't love it as much as Season 2, Season 3 of SpongeBob is fantastic. If I hadn't planned this out with a blog across 2 years, by the way, to my own second anniversary horn, picking both of these lists would be next to impossible. As far as the good episodes go, they're some of the easiest to go back and revisit. They focus much more on delivering silly and spongy entertainment, but because of that, when they fail, they do so much harder than Season 2's blunders. It's an odd mix of the original creative team both running out of ideas and going out with a bang, but it's got a strongly positive place in history, specifically 2001 to 2004. I'm Employee A Million, and this is my top 5 best and worst SpongeBob Season 3 episodes. Starting with the number 5 worst, Born Again Krabs. This is where Mr. Krabs really starts to become a bad character. He forces a rotten patty to be sold for weeks, then even eats it and costs his own life. The Flying Dutchman comes to take him away to Davy Jones' sports locker, notice all the gross out, but he begs for a second chance. He comes back, seeming to have learned his lesson, but when the bill comes he learns nothing, even selling his top employee to the Dutchman for 62 cents. There are a lot of story beats that go too far here. Even the ending where SpongeBob annoys the Dutchman in order to be brought back, which is one of the first times I felt like he was being written annoyingly for the sake of it. In short, while this was a funny episode, its story is pretty problematic. Number 4, Club SpongeBob. It's kinda sad that this is on the worst list because I remember liking it as a kid, but that must be because I related to its lack of common sense. The stuff about Squidward literally not fitting into SpongeBob and Patrick's club at the start's alright, but goes downhill when they're flung into the wilderness with next to no chance of survival, and the story becomes aimless. Squidward briefly tries to escape, only get lost, then a bunch of food falls from the sky that Squidward can't have, but they don't mean anything because all the main characters sit down doing nothing in the end anyway. I blame the magic conch. It's funny on your first watch, but once you know all its tricks, it becomes a pain to sit through. Number 3 goes to The Great Snail Race. If there's one criticism I have for Season 3 at large, it's that in trying to make SpongeBob more of an everyman, they made some episodes that dealt with his angriest side push the limit of his likability. He enters his snail Gary into a snail racing contest to compete with Squidward's new pet, and overcoaches him to the point that he breaks down on the track like a car. Sure, this scene would be cool if Gary were a car, but he's not. He's a sweaty, abused pet. The jokes don't even carry the episode, with many of them being too long or pointed out too explicitly to be subtle. If there's one thing I like about this episode, it's that it portrays the console wars pretty well. Number 2, The Sponge Who Could Fly. Even when you ignore its nonsensical title of The Lost Episode, and even when you get through the overly horny patchy segments, this still isn't a good episode. SpongeBob wants to fly, but all his means to do so are ruined by bad luck, including the episode's main focus, inflatable pants. The bad luck he gets into with those is having to help the Bikini Bottomites, but why would he do so after getting ridiculed and chased by them? It's got some good songs, I'll give it that, but they go towards a story where SpongeBob's put through the ringer because of the world around him, and not because anything he did was wrong. You know something's wrong when a minute-long walk cycle that was designed to be bad is the highlight of the double-length special. Number 1, Party Pooper Pants. This was another attempt at making SpongeBob a more serious character, and it's unfortunately much worse. He hosts a party for his friends, which you'd think would be right up his alley, but he becomes a jerk who sticks way too close to his inexplicable schedule. It's a dull story that drags on because this is another special, and ends up making no sense. Unlike the other weaker Season 3 episodes, it doesn't feel like there's any good writing or jokes to cancel out the shenanigans. It doesn't help that it's got patchy segments and, although not as bad as the Sponge Who Could Fly ones, they're still scurvy to sit through. Underwater sounds good though. So, when Season 3 got weak, it got downright miserable, but I like this season more than I don't. Its good episodes are some of the best of the series, rivaling Season 2's in my opinion, so it's a shame I could only pick 5, or 7 counting honorable mentions. Number 5, I Had an Accident. Nothing says a good story like SpongeBob breaking his butt. He decides to become a hermit and stay in his house talking to inanimate objects, which you'd think would make for a boring, pointless episode. Instead, it's one of Season 3's funniest. Sandy and Patrick play off each other fantastically, with Sandy actually trying to make SpongeBob enjoy the outside world again, and Patrick being a joke dispenser, but a good one. Of course, the ending with the live-action gorilla can make or break your opinion on the episode, but to me, it's one of the best ways the show's done a crazy ending. Even if that were an issue, who could pass up dust collecting, huh? Number 4, Krusty Krab training video. After a show's on the air for a while, it's healthy for it to shake things up by trying different styles. This episode goes all out with the instructional video format by serving as a reintroduction to the Krusty Krab's workforce. It's hard to actually critique, you're just sucked in by the atmosphere and abundance of jokes. Poop, hoopla, maximum overdrive, the drawn-out build-up, the ultimate fake-out ending. At the center of all of this is SpongeBob himself. He's eager to make a Krabby Patty, but is constantly swatted by the narrator, though he doesn't mind showing off his hygiene and organization skills. He's a good boy, and this is a good episode. Number 3, wet painters. The great thing about comedy is that you can use it to exaggerate how hard something is to do. I've never seen anyone have this much trouble painting, but there are good reasons for this. SpongeBob and Patrick's job to paint the inside of Mr. Krabs' house is such a delicate task that they can't get paint on anything. Then when it lands on Mr. Krabs' most prized possession, they're screwed. There's tons of tension in this episode, leading to some big, serious build-ups, but it never disappoints because it's all for the sake of comedy. You'll always find a new joke when you come back to this one. Number 2, can you spare a dime? It's uncommon to see SpongeBob get ticked off at Squidward, which makes this episode very special and cathartic to an extent. The episode works because the setup's so impactful. After leaving the Krusty Krab after being accused of taking Mr. Krab's first dime, Squidward hits rock bottom so SpongeBob takes care of him. That's pretty deep for a Nicktoon, but it has a lot of fun in making Squidward a spoiled brat and SpongeBob a jaded caregiver. It's not the jokiest episode out there, but the ones it throws really leave an impact, because there's a weight to them. Among the more serious SpongeBob episodes, this is the one that best stays in line with what I expect from the show. Number 1, the camping episode. If Shanghai's my favorite episode, this is the runner-up. There are a lot of locales visited in Season 3, and it's amazing how the most memorable and unpredictable is SpongeBob's porch at nighttime. Everything SpongeBob and Patrick do right as campers, Squidward does incorrectly or aggressively, making it funny when he has to put up with their shenanigans for a challenge. The self-imposed challenge of being a tough outdoorsman. The campfire song's legendary, the sea beer tat routine never gets old, and it's such a simple episode to still down and watch. There's nothing more simple than seeing your favorite characters camp out, but there's nothing more intense than them fending for their lives in the wilderness. Out of 443 SpongeBob episodes and growing, being my second favorite is a massive accomplishment. Oh my goodness, I need to breathe. And that does it for my favorite and least favorite episodes of Season 3. A lot of these episodes were towards the end of the season as the quality fluctuated more, but compared to what we later get, Season 3 feels like a good batch of episodes through and through. A lot of the crew members left after the first movie and into Season 4, but exactly how much did it affect the show's future? I'll take a look at it again next month, but goodbye for now.